When you learn QuickBooks, so you're given the book, right? And each chapter pretty much goes in detail of every single thing that you need to know. However, this I think that it's important that you should know how to set up your company file before actually learning how to even create transactions. So that is exactly why today I am going to start off with chapter 12. Chapter 12 is going to be how to create a company file. All right, and this is where I'm going to show you also a quick review of chapter 1, right? Understanding how to create a company backup or create a portable file. Okay, so here, right, is chapter 12. So this is page 345. Okay, if you guys have the chapter that I sent you guys available, I want you to look at this particular thing because one thing that you need to do is before even creating a company file, you need to do this 12-step setup checklist, okay? Again, this is on page 346. Now,
I'm sorry. I didn't print it out, but I did take a lot of notes, and I have all the 12 steps and everything.
perfect. Perfect. Good. You don't need to print it out. I just have it on the screen just so then.
I would have printed it. I'm out of paper.
No worries. Okay. I just want you guys to like key check this or mark this because it's very important that you have this. You do these 12 steps before even creating your company file. All right. Now, for you guys, I specifically had this actual portion. Actually, I had you guys go ahead and do this. So your business plan, right? Your business plan is going to be the basic questions that you're going to be answering when you're dealing with creating your company file. So, in a sense, I created the business plan as an introduction to QuickBooks, all right? It answers those basic questions so then when you actually do the company file, you're not spending hours making up random things. You have a set plan of exactly what your business is and what it does and what it's going to have. So that's exactly why I did that project for you guys. So it's like a little brief introduction to QuickBooks, okay? And what that business plan does is it outlines what exactly your business wants to be, okay? You need to have that down. Second thing is you need to determine. So now we're going to go through the 12-step process. So first thing is going to be to determine a start date, okay? And we'll talk about that when we go into the actual easy step interview. Okay. Now again, we're gonna create a QuickBooks company file. Is everything okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Someone's shuffling a lot of papers.
Sorry, that was me.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Routed away.
All right. Just making sure everything's okay. Okay. So, so we're going to create a company file. All right. Second thing is you're going to create the chart of accounts. Okay. Or third thing is you're going to create the chart of accounts. So that is very important that you have a chart of accounts for your business because that's ultimately how you're going to actually do your accounting in QuickBooks. All right. And then the rest is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm not going to go over the 12 steps, but it is something you should look into before even setting up your company file. Okay? All right. So as we dive straight into creating a company file, there are two ways you can create a company file. You have the Express Start, and you have the second one is going to be your Detailed Start. Now, in QuickBooks 2019, it's slightly different, and this is exactly what I mean by different, okay? Instead of having an express start, you're just only going to have a start button. And then,
Start.
yes, okay, now this is 2019 and 2018. For you guys, I want you guys to focus on the express start, which is going to be on the home. When you're on the home page, you're going to click create a company file, right? Once you do that, you're going to get a window that looks just like this, and it's going to have your blue button saying you want the direct start, you want the direct start, the detail start, or you want to do the express start. So it looks just like this, okay? So here's your window. It's going to have the express start button, or if you want to do the detailed, it's going to be down here in this little bottom left corner. Now, my book is a little different because instead of doing an express start, it's just regular start, okay? And then I would have to go to advanced options at the bottom in order for me to do, if I wanted to do the detailed startup, which is going to be, on my side, it's going to be advanced startup, okay? Now, the difference between the two, as far as that is, there is no difference. They both function the same exact way. It's just different terminology, I guess I would say. Now, the difference between the express start, okay, the express startup is meant for those who are pretty familiar with QuickBooks and know how to enter in a bunch of details XYZ, right? If they've been working with QuickBooks for a good chunk of their life, or knows how to add things or subtract things, right? So someone who's highly advanced in QuickBooks, they're more likely to use the Express Startup, all right? The Express Startup basically just gives you the very least information about your company, and you're going to build your company slowly by either by toggling it through the preferences, or just making changes to by adding accounts yourself. Okay. Now, what the detailed start is, it's also known as the easy step interview. Okay. The easy step interview and the detailed start are the same thing. Now, what the detailed start is, it's going to ask you a series of questions. So again, just its other title, which is the easy step interview, you're going to be asked questions about your company, and the more detailed you are about answering those questions, the more QuickBooks is going to create a generic or create the company file for you, instead of having you manually enter in all those data one at a time. It's going to create the company file in a sense that is exactly based off the details that you're giving QuickBooks. Okay, so the more detailed you are, the more your company is going to be full of either accounts or things that you should normally see when it comes into when it comes to formatting the company file. So we're gonna go ahead and do the we're gonna go ahead and take a look at both easy start, I mean express start and detailed start, okay? And I'll show you what I mean, all right? But first, we're going to go over the detailed start and see how intensely labor this one is, okay? Compared to the express startup, all right? So let me go ahead and pull up my information window so I'd be able to answer these questions, okay? So in your book, if you have it available, like just the PDF that I sent you, now for me, mine is really bad, and from experience with other students, their book is also bad too. So it is very hard to crop a photo and make it print out perfectly, but even the scans you can barely see it. So please work with me to try to read this together for me. All right. All right. So again, here is the I opened up QuickBooks. So this is what happens when I open it up. It's going to take me to this little home page. Now, as you can see, I have been working with QuickBooks for quite some time. So I have a bunch of files that I've were previously looking into. I have the 3 buttons at the bottom, which is to either create a new company file, open or restore a company file, or open up a sample file. Now again, I'm not going to open up sample files because we've already have files created. However, for this specific task, unfortunately, you don't have a file to create a file. So you're going to actually create it yourself. And that's what we're going to do. So when I tap create a company file, here is that window. And as you can see, mine just says start setup. Okay, in your book, and when you do your QuickBooks 2018 Premiere, it's going to say Express Start. Okay, mine says start setup. Okay, if I do this, it's going to be my Express setup, my Express Start. Okay, so again, it's less detailed, and you're gonna have to build the company file on your own. My second one is I would have to go to my advanced options or other options, click this, and then I have the choice to do an advanced setup. So for you guys, it's in the same corner, except yours is an actual button that says direct start. Okay? Or I'm sorry, detailed start. So yours is pretty straightforward. Mine, I have to actually go through a couple more hoops to be able to do that. And my detailed start is going to be the same thing as advanced start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the advanced setup. Now, here it's going to ask me a series of questions again. And the more detailed I am about it, the better the company file is going to be created. So in this case, right, now it's going to ask me, well, what's my company name? Right? It's going to ask me the very basic information, okay? So company name, I believe this one's going to ask me to be Academy Photography, right? Ooh, I'm in cap lock, so I need to make sure I change that. So, ooh, I was almost about Academy Photography. Okay? Now, you have a company name and you have a legal name. Now, when you have QuickBooks, you can name your company name whatever title you want to say. I can call this Bob's company. I can call this Lynn's company. It doesn't matter because whatever company name that you choose is basically going to be the file name that you're going to name it. So if I want to be specific, then I would say, oh, this is whatever the company's called. But I could change it to Lynn's company. I could change it to whatever company I want to do it. As long as I know every time I open up this file, whether I type in, I know that this file is in regards to this company. Okay? So that is what the company name is. It's basically what you're going to title this file. Okay? What a legal name is whatever the actual company, when you apply for the business license, is going to give you a legitimate business name. And that is where you're going to put in the real business name. Okay, so this one should say Academy Photography Inc., I think. I have no idea. All right. But yes, it will ask you to have the correct legal name. So again.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Why would you, if you have the legal name as Academy Photography Inc., why wouldn't you put for the company name? I mean, what would be the purpose of not putting the the legal name in?
Andrea, it's like saying okay, for example, my legal name is Eileen Vu. My company name is my nickname, which I can say is Lynn.
Oh, okay.
All right?
I see
So
what
that's
you're
the
saying.
same difference. Yes, that's the same
Okay, I see what you're
difference.
saying.
The company name could be whatever you want to name it,
Okay.
as long as you can recognize that this company file is that company file. The legal name has to be whatever is the name that is filed with the state and federal government. All right. So, for example, I would have to put my full name under legal name, and then my company name would be whatever nickname I want to call myself.
Okay, I see.
All right. So that is, in a sense, of how you can make that relatable. Okay. Tax ID number. All right. Tax ID number is okay. I don't know how to say this. But a tax ID number, I would say, is not mandatory. Okay, unless you are using QuickBooks to file taxes to pay your members or your employees. And it's yeah, and then that's exactly what the tax ID is for. Now this is meant for if you use QuickBooks to file taxes for you. Okay, then they require you to have a tax ID. Now if you're doing this manually and you're not actually using QuickBooks to report or to file taxes, then it's not required for you to have on here. Okay. So, but for most cases, and if not, when you do file for an employer identification number, you should have a tax ID number regardless. Okay? Okay, so make sure that you are aware that you are not obligated unless you choose to use QuickBooks to file taxes for you. All right, in this sense, I think, what is it? I think it's like 112233. Let me see, it's 7 4, or maybe it's 11123456 7. It's a total of 9. So it's the same thing as a social security number, except it's actually 2 numbers and then 7 after. So 7. Okay, I'm gonna make this one up. I don't know what the book says, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just fill it out, and then we'll go refer to the book later. Okay. So here it's going to ask you, well, select an address. Okay, so in this case, what address do we have? And I'm going to use the school's address because I don't know. Let me see. You guys all have your book, huh? Or do you guys have your PDF available? Okay, that's fine. We'll just make it up. Okay? So my address is going to be 2625. All right. South Rainbow Boulevard. Okay? We don't have to be specific on the units, okay? City. My city is going to be Las Vegas. All right. State is going to be Nevada. Zip code 89146. All right. United States is already confirmed. Telephone number is going to be 702-853-7482. All right. And my fax number is not required unless you want it. My email address. Now it could be info at academyphoto.biz. Alright. And my website's going to be academyphoto.biz. Right? So those are just the basic things that as far as like entering in the data when it comes to building your company file, right? You need to have these kind of things, right? A phone number, an address. And if you have a website, it's even better for you to put your website on there, all right? So once I filled out all that information, I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now the next set of questions is going to ask you, well, what industry do you belong to? And if you look here, you can see you can see all the categories you have as far as when you're building a business, what kind of industry you fall under. So you could be a rental business, you could be a financial service business, right? So taxation would fall under this. You could be a hair salon, right? You could be an information technology, so anything that has to do with computers, right? There's a bunch of different industries you can belong into. Now, I believe Academy Photography belongs into art, writing, or photography. Perfect. So I select that one and I click next. So now that I select my industry I belong into, what's going to happen is it's going to format QuickBooks in the same industry. So it's going to make sure that you don't have like other like corporate terminology in there that has nothing to do with photography. Okay? So next. All right. Now the next thing it's going to ask you is what type of business organization are you? Now again, we went over this in chapter 1. Are you a sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, corporation? And if you are a corporation, are you filed as an S corp, or are you a nonprofit organization, or are you a other or none? Which, I mean, out of all of these are the 5 types of business organizations you typically would see. So I don't know what you would be under other, unless you're filing this for as a personal business or personal finances, right? Let's say you use QuickBooks for your own personal books. Okay. Yes, you can click. You'd be under other. All right. In this case, I believe Academy Photography is an LLC. Let me see. I could be able to confirm that with you guys when I find the page. So here it talks about it right here. We are considered an S corporation. Okay. We're considered an S corporation. Okay. I guess so. Yes, you are a company organization. Window appears. Select S corporation. All right. I guess Academy Photography is an S corporation. All right. And then you would go ahead and click next. Now the next thing it's going to ask you is to select the first month of your fiscal year. Okay? So, you guys remember, right? What's the difference between calendar year and fiscal year?
Calendar years took the 12 months from January to December, and fiscal year can be June 1st to May 31st.
Perfect. Good. All right. So here it's going to, because you have no option for calendar year, right? It's making the assumption that whatever fiscal year that you do decide, whether if you claim it as a calendar year, you can start on January. And I think the book does say you want to start in January. Okay. But you can start on any other month if your fiscal year is going to be in the middle of the year. But in this case, we say, you know what, January is perfectly fine. We're just going to go with calendar year. Usually that's the easiest form of business that you want to rely on, because that way you don't need to have to remember when you have to do things, it's going to be on the 1st of January and it's going to end on the December 31st. But in this case, Academy Photography wants to start their fiscal year on January. Okay? Now, question to you guys. Do you need to start your actual company on the start of your fiscal year?
No?
No. Good. You can start your company at any given time. You don't need to start it on the day of your fiscal year. Okay? Fiscal year is just basically what your company is, what does it do, and what is the most comfortable or most convenient way to do your taxes. Which months are less busy than others. So in this case, we're gonna say Academy Photography are mostly going to be really busy during the summertime because that's when a lot of grand openings happen. That's when a lot of graduations happen. A lot of weddings generally happen in the spring to summertime, right? So those kind of things will factor in. So obviously, if you're going to be a lot busier in June and July, right, you probably won't even have time to file taxes. So that's why we say January is usually less busy because we don't have as many winter celebrations. You don't have winter, you don't have graduation in winter. You don't have, many weddings in winter. Those things just don't happen. So we want to make sure that our company starts on the fiscal year for our company is going to be in January. And then we'll go ahead and click next. So the next question is going to ask you is to set up your administrative password. Now, this is going to be required every time you open up a file, okay? You're going to be required to enter in your password, okay? Now, the reason is because you want to safeguard as well as keep all of your information private. Because ultimately, if anyone has access to your business, anything of your business, they can steal everything that you own. Okay, so you want to be very careful that when you're messing around with QuickBooks, that if you are intentionally using it for personal data, such as have your bank account linked into it or have your tax ID linked to it, those are very confidential information, and you want to safeguard them by putting on an admin password. Okay, so that means every time you log on to the file, you have to put a password in. And this applies to every single business out there because ultimately, if you have this file laying around, opening up, and it has all your customers' information, including their credit cards, which we'll talk about that in chapter 2, you can save customers' credit card information, right? So that you don't have to ask for it every single time. You just have it in there once, automatically charge it. And that's most common for a lot of companies, right? You're entrusting the company to protect your credit card information. And if they have it open out and laying around, you can expect that company is going to, have fraud because they have open access to their personal information. All right? Now, for this, because we're creating our company file, you do not need to do this now. You can skip ahead and create the admin password later. Reason why I say this is because most oftentimes when you're creating your company file, you're so involved on every other detail, you're more likely to forget this if you don't write it down. And if you forget your password, you actually have to call Intuit, which is the owner of QuickBooks, the one that owns the program. You have to call them, and they have to they have to manually reset your password on this specific device. Okay? So you want to be careful when creating an admin password. And in this case, I'm going to bypass it because I don't have a password in mind. Okay? So then the next thing that you're going to be asked for is when okay, so when creating your company file, the next thing that you're going to be looking into is going to be setting up all the other details, such as more detail into your company, such as when you're going to start your company. What kind of products do you have, right? So this is going to be, so once you've after reached this part, it's going to give you a little overview of what you've done so far. And if you look very carefully on the left corner, this is how much you've completed your Easy Step interview. And we are barely halfway there. All right. Once you confirm that everything is done, all right, and that you don't need to go back, you could go ahead and go next. Now it's going to ask you where do you want to save this file once creating it. And here I'm going to go ahead and select a file here under, so QuickBooks Portable Files. I'm going to go ahead and just put it here. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and put it here. And I will save it. All right? So now it's actually creating your company file. All right? Since I stated a place of where I want to create it, now it's going to create the workbook file for me. All right? So it's setting it up. All right? Good. All right. Now it gives you this, oh, you've successfully, congratulations, you successfully created your company file. Now it's going to ask you the more in-depth questions to set up your company file easier. All right. And what I mean by easier, you will see what happens next. All right. So the first thing is going to ask you, well, what do you sell? Are you a service only? Are you, do you sell products only? Or are you both a service and you do have services and you do sell products? Okay, so in this case, I do both. Now, if you have Premiere, you also can be a manufacturer. So remember, this is also chapter 1 here, is looking into a business and looking at, their business activities. What activities do you do? Do you have services? Or do you provide services? Do you sell a product? Or do you create the product, right? In this case, because I am working with Pro, which doesn't have that manufacturing unit in there. So this one is going to ask you, well, do you sell a service or do you sell a product? And in this case, Academy Photography does both. It has photography sessions as well. It has items that you can sell to customers. So I select here both service and products. Okay? And I go ahead and click next. Now the next question is going to ask you, do you have sales tax? Because this company is in the state of Nevada, yes, we do have sales tax. Okay? Now, given that if you did not know this, but if you are a service-based company, unfortunately, you do not need to have sales tax because service is non-taxable. And service, right, you have the capability of earning tips or commissions. So that is one of the reasons why it does not get taxed. And it's a service, okay? Products, yes, because products is sold and the state has a right to tax on items that you sell in the store, all right? but they cannot tax you for the services that you provide. Okay? So in this case, yes, because I sell products as well, yes, I do have sales tax. Next question is going to ask you is what do you want to create? Do you want to create estimates? Now, estimates, okay, for example, right? If someone calls you and they decide to call you to ask you for a quote, that is an estimate. All right? Because you are not for surely going to give them the direct full amount, right? Because they could require other things, right? They could require, oh, what if I want 4 hours of indoor services and 5 hours of outdoor services, right? Then it's going to be basically, it's going to be a whole bunch of different things for each price for each option that you have, right? So what the estimate does is it creates, again, an estimated number. And what you can do is if this is a potential customer, you could take that estimate and turn it into an invoice or turn it into, yes, an invoice, right? So that's what estimates is. All right, and we're going to click yes. Now the next question it's going to ask you is when you're using statements in QuickBooks. So this one is going to be implying, so do you want to use billing statements in QuickBooks? And yes, you want to click yes. Now this is going to apply whether you're receiving a bill or whether you're creating a bill or an invoice for a customer. So yes, of course you want to be able to have that capability to be able to bill a customer for whatever specific job that they wanted, right? So yes, that is definitely yes. Now the next question is going to ask you is, do you want progress invoicing? So what progress invoicing does is, let's say you do have an ongoing project, right? What you can do is you can invoice it per month, as in, okay, if this guy wanted me for a whole season to take photos, right, for their entire show. What progress invoicing does is you can bill them multiple times for the event that happens. Okay, instead of just putting a whole price on one entire package, you can slowly invoice it in increments. Okay, and yes, I want that capability to do it, especially when you're doing with estimates. You definitely want to make sure that you also have your progress invoicing, because again, your estimate can also determine how much your progress invoicing is. Okay. Next. All right. Now it's gonna ask you, well, what? Okay, so now it's gonna ask you managing bills that you owe. Yes, you want to have that capacity. You want to have that privilege to be able to manage your bills. And what it does for you is it keeps track of your bills. It also gives you reminders. And yes, you definitely want to have bill tracking. Okay? Next. So now the next question is going to ask you is tracking inventory in QuickBooks. Okay? Now, when we dive into the inventory section for QuickBooks, which is chapter 8, we'll go into more details for this. But it gives you a brief synopsis of, because you're selling a product, therefore you need to have inventory. So that's why every single answer or every single question that we answer, right, it kind of builds upon one another, right? Because I sell both service and product, automatically it assumes that, well, if you sell a product, you're going to need to have inventory. And the question is asking, do you need to track inventory? And what this question is, you definitely want to say yes, okay? Now, when we move into the inventory, you're going to have the option where it's similar to periodic and perpetual, right? You have one where you don't track as often, and then you have one that you do track every single time you make a purchase or every time you make a sale. Okay, we call that non-inventory and inventory, or real inventory. The other one is non-inventory. All right, and there's actually a lot more to that than just those two. And we'll talk about more in depth when we go into chapter 8. But yes, you definitely want to make sure that you turn on that you do want to keep track of your inventory. Okay. Now it's going to ask you to track time. Okay, because we are a service company, right? We need to make sure that we bill our customers correctly, right? If one person, right, if we're going to measure a photo session based on an hourly rate, then yes, we need to make sure that the person clocks in and the person clocks out for their time shift, which is for whatever the photo session is for. Now, yes, you can have the photo session start from A to point B. Depending on how flexible they are, they might be able, okay, yes, I can do 5 more minutes, that's fine. They might charge you for those extra 5 minutes, but yes, because for this purpose of this specific company, yes, we want to make sure that we bill, we keep track of the time. This also applies to if you have hourly wages employees, right? You definitely want to make sure you keep track of their time as well so you can properly pay them for their hard work. All right, so here, yes. Now the next question is going to ask you is, will you have employees? All right, definitely something you definitely want to make sure is that something that you want to have. Now, this is very weird, but if I select yes, right, I have options of what kind of employees I want to choose. Do I want to have W-2 workers? Of course. Now it's going to ask you, do you have 1099 contractors? 1099 contractors are not employees, okay? I don't know why they have this under employees, but you know what? We're just going to roll with the ball and say, yes, we will contract 1099 workers who are not my employees, but yes, they essentially will do a job for me, okay? So you want to make sure that you understand what the differences are, and this is going to be tied to when we look into payroll chapter in chapter 10 and 11. Okay, so same thing with your business plan. I asked you the same exact questions. Do you have employees? Well, what kind of employees are there? Are they salary-based employees or are they wages-based employees? Do you have independent contractors? I asked you all those questions, okay? Same thing here. I'm going to choose yes. I have both a W-2 worker and a 1099 worker. Next, we're almost done, guys. Look at our little green bar. We're almost done. Okay?
Oh, it shows you your progress.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. It shows you your progress. You're almost done. You got a few more questions left. So here, the next question is going to be saying using accounts in QuickBooks. All right. So this is where we're going to set up our generic chart of accounts. And what I mean by generic chart of accounts is because I have given QuickBooks all this information, right? I let QuickBooks know that I sell a service and I sell a product, right? So what QuickBooks is going to do is it's going to create a bunch of generic accounts that you could use in your chart of accounts. Now, this question, it says, state the date you want to start. Okay, hold on. So this is when, let's go back here. So this is when we're going to be doing to create our chart of accounts. But in order to do that, we need to have a start date, which again, when you're determining the start date, you want to know what day you're going to start your day. Now, if you read your book, All right. I don't know what page it's going to be on, but if you go ahead and take a peek of your book at choosing a start date, they are going to recommend you to start your. Oh, here's this. They're going to recommend you to start the last day of the last month that you have created. Okay. Another thing is, it's also going to tell you is if you potentially are going to start on the 5th of a random month, it's going to tell you to select the last day of the last month. Okay? Reason being for that is because you can always enter in data that could affect your days, right? So if you choose a start date that is where am I? If you choose a start date, let's say I start January 5th, right? Not only are you going to get inaccurate data, right? Because you can have any transaction that happened between the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of January. All right? So what they recommend you to do is they recommend you to start on the last day of the previous month is because not only do you get to start fresh, you can always backtrack and add information. Second thing is normally your bank statement closes out at the end of every month. So there you can have a fresh start, and when you compare it, everything is going to be more accurate because again, you're allowing yourself to have the fresh information. Now, if you choose to start your day on the 1st of January, automatically right there, you're going to be losing a whole day and you're going to throw off your account balance because you lost a whole day's transaction. Because when you actually start, you're actually starting the day after that you've claimed. Okay, so in this case, you definitely want to start on the last day of the last month. So in this case, because let me see, what month are we on? We're in the month of August, right? I'm going to say, so they have a few things. They say you can either choose the beginning of the fiscal year. Again, you do not need to always have that set up. You could start your business at any given time. So in this case, it automatically pulls up August 1st, 2020. I want to make sure that I select the last day of the previous month. So that means I'm going to start my transaction as of August 1st. Okay, that way I have all my, I have my bank statement. It's all cleared out with everything. It's already, reconciled, whatever you want to do. And generally you want to start on the very first day because then you can always backtrack and enter in all the rest of the information, right? So that is that one. Now it's going to actually start looking here. It's going to give you a generic list of accounts. Now, you can actually look through it to see if any of these accounts will apply. So, for example, sales. Yes, of course I'm going to have sales. All right. Merchandise account fees. No, that's not something we will use. All right. Other things that we're going to use is subcontracted services. Probably not for this one. All right. You can also have studio and locations. You can have advertising and promotion. So for sure, we will definitely have that. You're gonna have automobile expenses. So no, not really. Bank services. Yes, we will have bank services charges. So basically, these are just a chart of accounts listed for you that you would often commonly see. Now, if you choose any of the accounts here, yes, you can go back and delete things that you don't actually use. So in case you're just like trying to just get rid of everything and just go ahead and proceed with your day, just click next and then sort out the information later on. So in this case, yes, it has everything that I need, and then a bunch of things I don't need. So I can go ahead and fix that by, unchecking the on the left side, right? I'm gonna uncheck all of those because I don't use any of those. Well, maybe rent expense. Okay, yeah, maybe rent expense. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and click next, and then in this chapter we are going to be dealing with our chart of accounts on how to complete it. Now, once you've done that, it says congratulations, we are finally done. Let's look at our bar right here. It's 100% full. And then here we have our congratulations, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and go to setup. All right. Now that it validates that you created your company file and it has the components that you're looking into, which is answering all of those questions, okay? Then it's going to ask you to do a few more things before you can get started. It's going to ask you to add people into your business, okay? Again, we will deal with that when we go dive into our vendor chapter and our customer chapter as well as our employee chapter. So this one, we don't really need to add people just yet, okay? Second things that we're going to be looking at is what are the products and services that you have. Again, make a list of all of the items that you do sell and how much you're selling them for and how much you're purchasing them from. Who are you purchasing them for? All that information, and you're going to add that in here. And we are going to look into that when we're dealing with our customers. So chapter 2, okay? So this one we don't need to do. Now, the last thing it's going to ask you to do is to create a bank account, okay? I'm going to go ahead and do that for now. Let's go ahead and add our bank account. You can have up to as many bank accounts as you need or want, okay? Again, so you're going to add what the account name is, right? I'm going to say this is going to be my national bank account, and I'm going to say it's my checking account. So it's my, I'm going to say primary checking. Okay, primary checking, right? What you're going to do is you're going to enter in your account number. So I believe account numbers is, I forgot how many items is it long. But let's double check the book to see what they have put in theirs. Okay, so here we're going to set up the account number. It is going to be account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So my account number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Now it's going to also ask you, well, what is your current balance as of today? My opening balance. Now, you're going to get this number from your bank statement. Okay. This number isn't going to appear randomly. When you start your business, obviously, when you open your account, you're going to deposit the account for whatever amount that you put in there. But for this case, I want my opening balance to be 36,000. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And what is my date is going to be, so again, when you select your day, it's going to be as of the beginning of August 1st. Okay, so beginning of August 1st, okay? That is what my bank is going to be is as of what my entering in my opening balance for, okay? So once you've done that, you can go ahead and click continue, all right? And it's going to ask you this, do you want to have bank feeds? Do you want to do online banking? I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to say no, thank you. Okay? And this is ordering checks and stuff like that. I'm going to say no and continue. All right? Now you're back at this home page again because what QuickBooks wants you to do is it wants you to continue adding more information as possible. But in this case, like I said, Chapter 2 and Chapter 4, we're going to be dealing with entering here. Chapter 2 is going to be what kind of product you sell. So we could go ahead and click start working. All right. So here, I'm going to go ahead and do a brief little rerun of Chapter 1. So oftentimes what you're going to get is you're going to get this little window here that tells you what's new in QuickBooks. You could go ahead and close that out. But let's go ahead and review what Chapter 1 was about, okay? So what is this graphic depiction called?
It's your homepage, isn't it?
The home
Yes, it is your homepage. Good job. All right. The homepage is your graphic depiction of your transaction, right? Now, what is this left list called? The blue bar. You see it?
Okay.
It's this field tracker.
Oh, okay. Now it says yeah. Now I'm talking about the whole thing. Yes. What is this called?
Oh,
This blue list. What is it called?
something bar.
Yes. Something bar. Yes.
I know it's something, but I read it somewhere.
It's called,
It was one of those questions too, the three things that
Exactly.
it had four multiple choices. One of them was not a part of the shortcuts.
Exactly.
So this is one of those shortcuts.
Yes. But what is it called?
I know. It's like, okay, where's my notes? No, I didn't write that one down. Let's see.
What do you call these little pictures?
Bar, it's a icon.
Icon bar.
oh, icon.
Oh my gosh, it's too simple.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay, so it's an icon bar.
Icon bar, right? These little, it makes sense, right? You have little pictures right here. It's your icon bar. All right. This is your home page. What do you call this top gray bar?
Okay, that is, oh my gosh. So let's- Andrea, we know this. I know we
Yeah.
know.
Oh, my goodness.
Taskbar?
Not task.
Not task.
That's down here at the Windows part, okay? That's taskbar is down here.
Right, yeah,
Okay,
that's
taskbar is at the bottom right.
that's your shortcut. Oh my gosh, what is?
Top is the,
It starts with a M.
navigation
M.
bar.
Yes. M as not N as in Nancy, M as in Mary.
Oh,
Yeah, it gives you a list of all the tasks you can choose from. All right.
it's sensitive.
I threw me way off. I'm not even close to figuring that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, think of it like this. If you're at a restaurant and you get to see every single item on
Menu.
menu bar, yes.
Gosh.
This applies as well, right? It gives you all the options that you can you all the assets, all the topics, all the tasks that you can do in QuickBooks. It's all going to be in lists of here, okay? So again, essentially, it's just like going to a restaurant and it's listing out everything that they have on there, right? This is exactly the same thing. Everything that you can do in QuickBooks is going to be on the menu bar, okay? And then this little blue bar here that tells you where to go. What do you call this? Or what file you're in? What do you call this?
Oh, which is, oh, okay.
Well, there's the name of your the program.
Okay, yes, it does have the name of the program on here, but Specifically, this is called the title bar
Title bar.
because it lets you know exactly which company file you're currently in. Okay?
So title bar.
Yes. Title bar, below it's the menu bar, left is icon bar, the middle page is your graphic depiction is your home page. Okay? So those are the 3 ways you can enter in data. All right? Okay? Let me see, what else did we learn in chapter 1? We learned about, I want to just go over a few things before we dive straight into, so let me see. So if we go to file, right, you can save a company file, right? We learned about that yesterday, how to create a backup and how to be able to send out your information and create a portable file. Where is it? I think it's one more. Okay. Ooh. All right. So you can either create a copy, you can send a copy, right, by creating portable file, right? Okay. So now going back to the easy detailed step, whatever you want to, easy step interview. Now, question is, all right, I'm going to ask you this. If for any reason you want to make any changes, can you make any changes to anything that you have done into the detailed easy step interview?
Yeah, I think you can customize it, right?
Yes, you can. Good job. Yes, you can customize it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll let you guys know in a second. So, in case for any reason you're in the middle of your detailed startup, what you can do is if you exit out of the program at any single time and the minute you open up your program, it's going to pull up exactly where you left off for your easy step interview. Okay, so that's cool. Now, if for some reason you exit out of the easy step interview, right? Unfortunately, you cannot go back into it. Okay, so there's a 2 difference. If you quit halfway, or when we're at the easy step interview, it says at the very bottom to quit now and go back to it another time, right? When you're in the middle of creating your company file, it is mandatory that you complete all the questions. Okay? However, if you're in the middle of it and you close out the program, it's just going to when you attempt to open up the program again, that's the first thing it's going to ask you is to complete the detailed setup. Okay? Now, yes, for any reason you want to create fix the details in here, you're going to go to preferences. So you go to the edit bar, menu bar, and you're going to go to preferences. And here it's going to ask you a bunch of things the things that you answered through the interview is all going to be right here. For example, do you sell inventory? Right? And if you click company, yes, I do. And I'm going to keep track of it. Okay? Same thing with, what was the other one? Are you going to keep track of time? Yes, because that's what you said in the interview, right? Yes, I am going to keep track of time. Okay? Other things such as, yes. Okay? And then when we learn into how to customize it and whatnot, then you'll see how you can actually change it. But for right now, I just want to make sure to let you guys know that if you're done with your easy step interview and you decided to change your mind, you can always fix it by going to edit preferences. Okay? But again, if you leave the easy step interview and you haven't created your company file yet, it's going to stop you and it's going to ask you to complete the rest of the interview in order to create your company file. You can't just create your company file again after this, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click cancel. Now that is how you do the easy step interview. You see how long it took to answer all of those questions, and that is exactly why I had you do the business plan, because you never want to create a company on the whim. You never want to create the company out of thin air and you have no idea what you're going to sell and you have no idea what if you're going to even have employees. You want to sit down and create a plan that entails at least the basic components of a business. All right? All right, understand, do you sell a product? Yes, I do. Okay? Now, that was just looking at that. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this company file real quick because I'm going to show you. So when we did that, so let's look at the homepage again. When we did that, our homepage is pretty full, right? We understand that we have inventory and we're going to keep track of it. We have bills that we're going to be setting up, and we have our sales process. So all of this homepage is already predetermined because of everything that we answered in the Easy Step interview. Okay? All right. Now, let's see what happens if I decide to open up, if I decided to create a company file that is, here you go. So I'm here, right? Let's go say I create a company file and I decide to select the Easy Step interview, right? So now that I'm doing the Easy Step interview, it's just going to ask me a few questions, okay? Okay, so this pop-up is not supposed to happen. All right, so when I come here, I'm going to go ahead and click my Easy Step interview. I think I can bypass this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click skip. So basically, it's going to ask you the same components that happened earlier. All right. So this time I'm going to make a fictitious business. So I'm going to go ahead and make up, I don't know, Stargaze. Okay. So instead of Starbucks, it's going to be Stargaze. Okay. Stargaze coffee. Just making up a random one. Do I have an industry? Yes, I do. But I don't know, what is that, retail? Or restaurant. It's a restaurant. Okay? Restaurant. Boom. All right. What kind of business type is it? I'm going to say I own the shop, so it's a sole proprietor. And then the next question is, what is your employee identification number? So I'm going to go ahead and make it up. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, that's my employee identification number. Do I have a business address? Yes, I do. It's going to be I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Main Street. Okay, what's my city? Las Vegas. All right, again, state, Nevada. Oopsies. Oh, dang, I could have just pressed it right there. Nevada. All right. My zip code, 89128. Phone number, 702-855-245. I don't know, random numbers, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and click continue once I've done that. And you're going to create your company file. Just like that. All right? Now, while I give it a few seconds while it creates my company file. All right. And then so here it is. It's creating my company file right now. All right. And then now it says you're all set. You see? That is called the Express Start. Okay? Now, if you notice, my home page is completely empty. Why? I did not answer any of the questions in regards to my business.
So you're going to end up building as you go?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, again, this is for people who worked with QuickBooks for a long time. They don't need to do the easy step interview because maybe those things, they add too much stuff that you don't necessarily need. All right? But in this case, so I'm okay at QuickBooks, so I recognize that I don't have half these things. But yes, that's the difference between the Express Start and the Detailed Start. Express Start, you just enter in the company's information, and you're gonna build the whole thing from scratch. Okay, where the Easy Step interview helps you build it along, and usually that's for beginners who are not very comfortable with QuickBooks, don't really have a clue, maybe they're starting their business, they kind of want to have an idea. So that is exactly what those two setups functions are when it comes to the difference of between the two. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and close out this company file. So that is the very beginning of chapter 12 for you. Is there any questions in regards to setting up a company file?
Okay, so Express Start is really for experienced QuickBookers.
Correct.
And Detailed Start is for beginners, so it'll help set it up more in details.
You can also think of it this way too. Express Startup, it's also kind of detailed oriented, right? You need to know specifically what you're going to add into your company, right? Where the Easy Step interview is kind of a lazy way of building your company, right? It's because it's going to create all the accounts that you need. It's going to do everything for you. So you can think of it in that kind of sense too. It's like an easy, it's a lazy way of setting up your company if you use the Detailed Start. Where the Express Start, you need to know every detail in regards to building your company file.
Okay, so a new person, so someone that's just starting out would probably use the detail
Correct.
to get started.
Correct.
Right.
All right.
And then build on it as they go, okay.
Yes. Any questions? We're looking at the two different ways of creating a company file.
Okay.
No? Okay. If that is it, I'm going to have you guys take a